Hello and welcome to another ARCHLine.XP webinar. My name is Zoltán Tóth. Over here is, as always, our resident architect, Mr. Iléspa.
Hi there.
Today is all about hardware requirements, licensing, registration, a lot to talk about, so let's take a look. So Ilés, why don't you tell our viewers what we are going to cover today?
Well, let's focus first on how you can take the installer and what to do before you take the installer from our website and you start using any sort of license that you have. Should you have a trial version, you're just trying the software, or a commercial license, or we even support the non-commercial versions of the software. So we will cover all of these and how to register, what to do with that. And at the end of this, near to the end of today's session, we will also talk about knowledge that we know can cause some sort of question or bring up some question for someone, what to do when something happens. This is useful for, I think, all viewers. Even if you won't face this issue or these sort of questions, at least it's good to know about how to solve when you face.
For instance, moving from one computer to the other, what happens with your license. So a lot of things will be covered today.
And whether we will talk about some sort of things like these here, the hardlocks and so on. So I think we can start with the hardware requirements first things first, because that's the hardware where the software runs, and that's the hardcore thing we should focus on first.
That's right. Before we do, I just would like to encourage our viewers that, as always, we are open for questions, which you can ask on the right-hand side. So if there's anything you want us to go into details some more, then let us know over there. So let's first talk about the hardware requirements. This is a frequently asked topic. So obviously, before you start using ARCHLine or you want to use a newer version, you want to know what kind of hardware we support. Now, luckily, we have the latest hardware requirements listed on the website. So if you want to consult with the latest requirements, you have to go to the website, Education and System Requirements. Right on the top, there's a video featuring us where we talk about the most important aspects of a PC and what you have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's a kind of a summary without talking specific, I don't know, rigs and things like that, because they are changing. So this is a common knowledge about what you should focus on and what's the three most common and most important hardware when you would like to purchase a computer for ARCHLine, or at least you would like to check whether your current computer is able to run. Luckily, ARCHLine's minimal requirements, which is at the bottom of this list, is rather low. But of course, when you use ARCHLine with the lowest recommended minimum system requirements, then obviously you won't be able to work with large files, complex projects. Then you should only focus on smaller projects, perhaps digitizing, I don't know, survey drawings or something like that. Not that much detailed, complex projects. Also, we have a recommended list, which features the most common things. For example, the CPU, the RAM, and the mouse, and so on, which we will talk a little bit soon about. But obviously, if you would like to have a powerful and a computer that you can use in the long run, then you should focus on the recommended list.
We always talk about the three most important aspects of a computer. As a refresher, can you guide us through of the holy trinity of hardware that we have to focus on? Yeah,
first things first, well, we can quarrel about which is the most important, but I think one that we can say is the most important is the CPU, the central processing unit. That's the processor that you can buy from your local store, or if you buy a laptop, it's shipped within. You should either buy, you can actually buy two main trademarks, Intel or AMD, whichever you go with. You go with the high recommended versions of these. You will be fine with those. You can have quick renders, because that's what they do very well. They compute very fast and actually rendering, generating sections, views, and things like these demand processor power, and that's where you will benefit all of these things. So actually, even if you do not create rendered images, but you just create the regular sections and things on, then you will benefit from a good CPU.
Strong CPU. That's right. What's the other two important factors?
Well, on top of that, another thing is the RAM, the random access memory. That is something that is quite exchangeable. You can relatively easily upgrade it even if you have a laptop. In case of a laptop, CPUs cannot be upgraded later on, so you will go with the one that you purchased it with that. But when we talk about RAMs, then it's actually something that you can buy the recommended amount, which is currently 8 gigabytes on our website. I would recommend actually 16 if you can afford, because that's a good start, and in that case you can work with rather complex projects. RAM is responsible for the complexity of the model that you can handle, and when you use several other software, not only ARCHLine but of course browser and Photoshop or something else, and you run these parallelly on the computer, a good enough amount of RAM is necessary. So RAM is not for speed, RAM is for complexity, CPU is for speed.
That's right. And what's the third most important aspect?
The third most important is a GPU or a video card. This is one specific trademark and one specific maker, but you should just go with something which is, if you would like to have a good performance during work. So it's not for rendering, it's for when you rotate the model and when you work with the model inside ARCHLine. That's when, and actually when you visualize the 2D, that's when the GPU is coming very important in its situation. So this hardware, the GPU, is something that you should go with somewhere from the middle range if you would like to have good computation power.
What about software? Because obviously you want to work with other software products as well. We have to know what are the supported and not supported ones. How do we find this information?
Yeah, this could be overlooked easily, but just as you mentioned, don't forget about software. There are a few things that could, kind of collide or conflict with ARCHLine or any other design system on your computer. By design system, this thing can be different, but for ARCHLine, you can find all these things at the bottom of this list. There is the not supported software, and these are actually based on feedback that we had, and in the past or in the near past. So we know that these software, should it be anything listed here, will not provide a good workflow with ARCHLine, or even it will restrict ARCHLine from being able to perform well or normally on your computer. Especially talking about antivirus solutions and firewall solutions, those are things that are meant to they are tailored to bother your files on your computer, to modify your files or guard your files, but they can sometimes kind of being overprotective, let's say that, and they can even avoid normally running software, any sort of software, not just ARCHLine, from being able to perform normally. So you should take care of this list. If you have any concerns whether your current rig is okay or the one that you are about to purchase now, what we always recommend that show this to your IT guy who usually helps you, and he will be able to at least provide 2 or 3 versions of things that you can purchase. And then when you have the list, then we are more than happy to send you a feedback if you send us the link that this and this and this 3 computers, I'm thinking any of those to purchase. Please give me your advice, which one would you go with, and then in that case we can easily give you a feedback. Sure. The other way around, if you would ask us what I should purchase, it's a really difficult question to answer, because locally you can have any sort of software, so that's the other way around, which I just mentioned before, is the easiest way.
Here's a question meanwhile, how often do we update the system requirements? So when do we update this information base? Mostly
because from version to version there could be a change. There's not always a change. For example, between 2017 and 2018 there was not a big change, and between 2018 and 2019 there will be no big change in this list. Yes. So usually from main version releases we update this list, and And obviously when we have any sort of feedback regarding not supported hardware or any sort of things, then we also, based on that feedback, as soon as we get this information and it's confirmed, then we can we always update this list. One thing, just kind of a side note here, ARCHLine.XP is a Windows-based software. So that means those of you who have an Apple computer, you can use Windows software on your computer. You should take care of this list at the bottom. And what I would recommend to go with Bootcamp, not any of those virtualization solutions, because those can perform kind of poorly or at least not the best. So you should go with this one. If you don't know anything about these, don't worry. Just go into the Mac store, the Apple store, and they will be more than happy to help you.
Explain that.
Yeah.
One last thing regarding hardware, and that is my my note here, is that one thing what we overlooked is the mouse that you're using.
Yeah.
Now, two things to add. Obviously, using a mouse with a scroll is something of a given. If you're working in CAD, you cannot afford not using that. And another addition, we don't have that one in the office, but if you have those kind of mice with side
buttons,
clips, like buttons on the side, you can use that in ARCHLine as well as undo and redo buttons. That's a fairly new addition.
Yeah.
And now what we are going to do, we are going to look at the journey that you have to take from beginning to end to procure ARCHLine. So we talk about first how to create an ARCHLine account, which is the first step in this. So let's model what happens if you are a first timer and whether you have already purchased ARCHLine and you want to activate it or you're just looking. Here's the first thing that you have to do.
Yeah, first things first, you need to download the installer if you do not have it already. There are two ways at least to get the installer. One is, which I think we are now covering on the screen, is the, let me just try to enlarge it like this, so we are not covering that part of the homepage. It's this here, the user. Can you see that on the screen now? This user menu point is this actually allows you to register at any time. Even if you are not downloaded anything, you can download, you can register, or if you already have a login, then you can use that. Let's just go through how to create an account. Let's just show how to create the account, because this can be also an interesting thing. Obviously, you need to provide those informations with the required field. The most importantly, you need to provide a real an existing email address, because that's how the actual activation process will work, and that's how we will communicate important information with you regarding your license. And also, when you create that, you can read the privacy policy over there. We will handle your data based on this policy here. And so if you create the account, then you will be able to log in with that account. And I think now we can talk about that.
Yes, just one addition. If you register an account, you will be sent an activation link.
Yes.
You have to click that first. If you don't see that, it might have ended up in the spam folder. But that's the first thing that you have to do. So provided that you have already clicked on that and you have an existing account, let me show you what happens if you want to log in. So I'm just going to use my own email address.
You didn't see now, but obviously again we clicked on the user and there is your email address.
I need full concentration for that, otherwise I won't remember the password. So here's where you see your account, and it's very important. This is your account with us, but this is not the place where you keep your files, for instance. So this is not a cloud storage. This is only for your license management. You see your current newsletter settings, so you see if you want to currently receive newsletters from us or not. You see your personal data over here, your invoicing data, and this is where you can also change your password. And most importantly, here you can see the existing license types that you have.
If you have any already.
If you have a license. Now I currently have two, one with a Hardlock and one with a software key.
Which we will cover soon,
And this is very important. Here you can see the current version, activation code, serial number. All this we are going to cover. But let's see what happens after that. How do we download the software actually?
To download the software, you will either find this link when you go and you would like to go with the trial version. Like you just click on download and then you download the trial version. This is where you can always access and be able to get the latest release, the latest official release of the software. By which I mean that even if you have, if you find this trial homepage, just go with that, download it, and you can use your license with it. All installers that you can download from our website is the same. There is no different installer for different licenses. There is one installer. Should you download it from here or from the, this is in the download center here.
Yes.
So that's the other location.
Yes,
if you are already logged in, this also needs login. If you're already logged in, then you can see the program versions, and here you can find the installers. You just hit the big download button. You can also accept the license agreement and then download the installer. Now, I think I won't download it because we already have it.
It's very important to, if you scroll down, you can see older builds of ARCHLine. So if you have purchased the software a couple of years ago and you uninstall your software, uninstall your computer, then this is where you can procure the latest build from. So
we will talk about this a bit later as well, but it's a very important thing that if should you have purchased the 2019 license, you will get a 2019 license number, serial number, so you won't be able to use that serial number with other versions. The serial number is with the proper version of the software.
That's right. We will cover that. Well, let's talk about the second most important point. How do we install the software and what comes after that? We have a few.
Yeah, so now we have downloaded the software. When the downloaded installer is on your computer, you will be able to find it. Now we actually downloaded one, and it's in the install. I mean the download folder in our computer. So this is how it looks like. You will be able to select that installer. It's a file on your computer. You just double click on it. There is one thing that usually appears before this screen appears, and there is kind of a confirmation whether you allow that installer to run, which is not on the screen now. It's usually a black screen with a yes/no button. You should accept it, and then you will be able to select the language of your software. Again, ARCHLine is shipped with the international installer. That means all languages are packed inside one installer, and then you can even later you can switch the language, which we will show you later, and then also you can decide what language you would like to go with when you install the software. After that, of course, you can set up the installation location. Now, this I wouldn't really recommend to change. However, you can. But this is always the best to be at the base location, which is what you can see on screen now. It's in the program files. There will be a summary then, which just summarizes what will happen, and when you hit install, the installer starts. It can take up to 5, 10, 15 minutes depending on your computer speed and your hard drive speed. And then when the installer is finished, then you will see this dialog appearing when you can say that, okay, run ARCHLine. And after that, what happens, that's what we call licensing. Because when you install the software, and let's start with the easiest scenario. This is the first time when you installed ARCHLine on your computer, so you just went through the process and you start ARCHLine. When you start ARCHLine,
what happens if you do? What happens if you haven't purchased anything yet? You just start.
That's when the trial comes. That's what you will see first. If you didn't register your license number, even if you have already obtained it and you have it in an email or on your account, the software will just simply load and give you this offer. You can either go with a non-profit license, you can go with a trial. This is where we will start now, and you can go with your already purchased license. We will cover all these three. Now we
Which one do we go first?
Now we will cover the button at the bottom, which is telling me to test the trial version. So now we click on the trial, and then the software just loads up. Now we obviously already have a few files here, but perhaps when you started this field, we'll have only a few sample projects. So you just click on any of those, or you click on Create New, and then right after the software started, you will see a dialog coming up with the days that is allowed for run this trial version. One important thing for the trial version: this day count starts from the date when you install the software. So that 30 days that you saw on screen, if you installed the software, this 2019 version on this computer first today, then from today the 30 days count starts. And when it's over, the software will go into a so-called limited mode. If you don't do any of those, which we will cover now, the software will, after the 30 days, without activation or registration, it will just turn into limited mode, which is not for work. It won't allow you to save, it won't allow you to do anything. You can actually draw walls or something like that, but that's a limited mode. So there will be a message window coming up to tell you this if you face up with that situation. But as you can see, each and every day when you start the trial, it will just tell you that, okay, you still have 20 days to test the trial. Now, should you go with any sort of the other options? Let's go with the non-profit version. A non-profit version is for those who either would like to use it as a home enthusiast, or perhaps students. And so for the ones who are not willing to work with a commercial license because they are not making anything for profit. So in that case, we just go with the highlighted button to get the non-profit version. The software will automatically load this dialog up, and then it will also on another screen or perhaps behind ARCHLine. So you should look at your taskbar. You should see a web page coming up. This web page will look like this. This web page will make you able to log in, or if you didn't do so yet, then you can just create your login now. You can log in, and then you can follow the steps to get the non-profit license, and then you will be able to use the software for the license time granted by the non-profit.
And how many days is that? 60 days.
I believe it's 60 days. Yeah, but it's always written on the homepage. It's currently 60 days.
So actually, the non-profit can be used as an extended trial. If you want to take the software for a longer test drive, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, you can do that. You can say that, okay, I'm testing the software for 30 days, and when I like it, I go with the additional 60 days.
One very important thing to point out, though, the trial version and the non-profit has no difference in features compared to the full professional commercial license. So it has all the same functions, all the CAT functions, saving enabled, printing enabled. So it does the same thing. Only difference is a timestamp, which, as you said, is being counted from the installation.
Yeah, and one another thing regarding this, which is connecting to what you said, the file format is also not kind of, so whenever you decide to test the software, and should you already test it with a running real project of yours, and then you purchase the license, you won't need any sort of conversion of the file or something. That's the same file, just as you would do with a doc file or something like that.
That's right. And now let's talk about the third option, when you either are buying a license right now or you already have one purchased. And before we do, let's just go back to the website. There's a very important piece of resource over here. So you are coming from all around all around the world. So there are countries you are from where we already have resellers in place. So in our website, we have all the resellers listed, which is one thing is that this is where you can buy the software from, but these are the people, these are the companies which will support you as well in your work. And
this you can find here in the main menu of the website, contact, and there are the partners. So should you look for anyone selling ARCHLine near to your business, then just head over to this website.
Now, so provided that you have a license code, then let's see how we can activate that.
Yeah, okay. So activation.
I assume we start with the same dialog, right?
Okay, so first things first, there are two different things. One is the registration, when you provide a serial number, that's your license. And there is the activation, which is extending the license, which is registered for the grace period that you are granted to use the ARCHLine for. So if you purchased ARCHLine, and you just register ARCHLine, you will be able to run it for a while, but to be able to use it for its full grace period, for its full period that you bought it, then you just need to activate it. First, let's look at the how to provide the serial number. In that case, when ARCHLine starts, you will see this. Sorry, let's just head over back to the first. I just wanted to say that there is an option here, right here at the right corner, where if you click there, you can already provide your license number. But if you didn't do that, you just go with any of the other options.
Then the program opens up as trial.
Then it opens up as trial, or you had a non-profit license. Then it opens up as a non-profit license, and it will tell you how long you still have to use it. Then you can actually go to the what's that?
About the help panel.
The help panel, yeah, right up corner. That's a big question mark over there.
Yes.
So you just click there, and the bottom three options are the most important for us now. That's the registration, activation, which comes later, and the about. When you click on about, then you will see this dialog coming up, which is telling information about installation, your license number that's blurred out actually, and then about the activation and so on and how long you can use the software. This is where you can also register your license. So if you go your profile, to your account, and you see that license number that you purchased from us, then you can copy that and paste it to the one. It appears at the bottom. It's called change version. So because you have either a trial version or you have a non-profit license, so you can change that to a commercial version, and then this dialog comes up, and this is where you can paste your license number into. Take care, if you copy paste any other characters, it won't work.
It should be 16 digits. And it should be all numbers.
Yeah, it's all numbers. And if should you not being able to push the OK button on the screen, you will see that something is wrong with the code. It's not long enough or not containing the proper characters. If you can see OK, then you are fine with the code.
What happens after that?
After this, let's talk about an alternative to this, because this is one way. I think one of the easiest way to register. But if you forget that there is this about dialog solution, there is the other one. You can still open up the help menu, and there is the registration. That's rather logical. You just click there, and then you see the same. Okay, so you just paste it here, and again, okay. So you just go with that. After registration, again, the software will tell you in the about dialog how long you can run the software, your license, without activating it. Actually, activation is a technical process. You will receive another code from us, and then you can provide that. So activating the license means you will be able to, again, to go to the help menu, and there is this activate product option, and this brings up this dialog. There again, there is your serial code. There is a kind of a computer code, which is for a computer. We will talk about this because there are two different licensing ways. One is the most popular, the software, and another one is the Hardlock.
That's right.
And then here, again, you will get an activation code either into your profile or in an email from us or your reseller, your partner, and then you can paste it here and then just hit OK or activate, and then you can go. Activation is usually online. Sorry, just one thing.
Carry on.
Activation is by default online, so you need an online connection so that ARCHLine can communicate with the server and get the proper information. But there is always an offline mode, so should you have a computer not connected to the internet or broken connection, then you won't be alone. We can provide another way to register the software.
One thing that we have to talk about again is the change version, because that's the one that you also use when you change from non-profit to commercial license.
Yes.
In the same tab. That's where you can switch the license type. Now let's talk about software keys and hard locks, because you briefly mentioned that, but can you actually tell us what these are?
Yeah, well, a software key or a hard lock, which I think we have, let's go to the registration and activation. You have a description here on this website. What's the difference between the two? The summary, to summarize what we talk about, the software key, it works like it bounds the license to the computer where you work. So it's best for those who are not willing to move from one office to another and use the same license in two different physical locations. Because you can move licenses from one computer to another one, but for that you need to contact us, so it takes a little time until you can move from one to another. If you would like to easily bring the license with you and kind of plug into any sort of computer, then an option is the Hardlock key, which it looks like this actually has a serial number on it at the beginning. This is how you can, if you have several licenses, you can tell which is which.
Yes.
It's like an ignition key for your car, but for this time for the software. So it's an USB stick, so you just stick it in and then install the software, and you will be able to use your license. This is not holding any other information, only your license information. So you won't store your files on this or your account or anything. This is just the ignition key, nothing else. You can have one license per one ignition key, one hardlock. So buying a second hardlock for a license is not an option, because this is a license actually. This is the license.
So actually that's how you carry your license from one computer to the other.
Yes.
What do you do if you want to do that?
to carry over the license? Or
let's say I want to use my ARCHLine version here and at home as well. Not at the same time though, just I want to use it here and there as well.
Yeah, well, in that case, you install ARCHLine on both the computers that you would like to as trial versions, and then you can use your serial number, copy paste, and also activate. So that's the same process. The only difference how you work with the Hardlock key is that you go to, let's say, one is at the home and one is at the office. I go home, plug it in, start ARCHLine, and then I can use the license that I already registered and activate it. Then I just finish the work, close it, pull it off, go to the office, plug it in, start ARCHLine, the same license actually, because this is how I bring the license, and then I can work with that. This won't transfer files, so if you would like to transfer files, you need to take care of that. We will talk about that as well. But this will carry the right to use your license that you already have. And actually, this is a protection for you as well.
What happens if I have a software key activated on one computer, but I want to carry it to another computer?
Yeah, well, in that case, because you don't have any physical thing to carry over, you need to contact us and tell us what is the computer where you would like to use the ARCHLine. For this, the best way is to install ARCHLine on that computer, and then you can contact us with the details. What are the steps? There is actually one or two technical steps that is necessary to deactivate the license on one computer and activate it on the other computer. It takes a few minutes, I believe.
Yes, yeah. That's something that we can do. So that's.
Sorry, one other thing. So you can do this during the work hours. To make it clear.
Yes, if you have purchased ARCHLine through a reseller, obviously you would contact them first, and they would contact us.
Yes.
But we can take care of that during normal working hours. So that's how you carry your license from one computer to the other. But what about the content itself? So when we say content, it's very important to know what we actually mean by that. So. What we need to do is how we carry the things that we created, and what are the things that we have created.
Yeah, well, okay. So now the topic is migrating licenses and content. So just to quickly summarize, either you can migrate the license using the Hardlock key, again, just to make it clear, and then you can go with the software activation and deactivation process to move and activate your license and just be able to work with that. Content, by content we mean the project files that you store at a specific location. By default they are in documents, ARCHLine.XP draw, and you just copy the content of that folder and move to the other computer.
Yes.
So you actually cloned. The other thing is the profiles, groups, objects, styles, and all those things that appear on the screen now that you can carry over. There are actually two separate scenarios. One scenario which you can see now is that when you have one computer, you used ARCHLine.XP 2017, for example, on this computer, and then you install the new one, and then you would like to migrate things from that older version to the new version. This is what happened then. So you just clicked on the import old settings, old hotkeys, and all those things, and the new version will automatically inherit and merge those things into the new libraries. So that is what you can see when you just move on the same computer from an older ARCHLine version to a new version, main versions we talk about, like 2017, 2018, and 2019.
A short detour here, if you don't mind. Does it work backwards as well? So if you create something in a recent ARCHLine version, is my colleague who's using, let's say, ARCHLine.XP 2017 able to open it?
There won't be any problem with that, because we are backwards compatible with no extra effort. That's what there are versions when we cannot do that, then we will always tell our users, but by default we are backwards compatible. What you can see on screen now is the environment package. Environment package is useful when you would like to pack your things up and physically move to another computer to just, let the software collect all this information that you have selected, groups, objects, and all these things that are not stored currently in your files that you already have project files. So pack those things up, because I already browsed many things many times and for long hours, for furniture and things like that I didn't.
Oh, you want to use it somehow.
Yeah, yes. and obviously I don't want to do that again. So I just pack those things up. This can be a rather large file, so you just take care of that. And this big package of content will be something that you can, copy on a USB stick, move onto the other computer, paste it there, and then you just use the import command to select that, and then import that content into the other computer. So you can actually just drag and drop it, and then the software will realize, okay, well, I found a few things in this, and let's just import that. This is actually how we can share things with us when I just export a few objects as well. Those are environment files. Those contain the work environment, whatever you have selected to store in that. This is actually what we see. This is the move in command when you just start the options, go to the proper option, and you say, okay, let's just move everything in what's in the package, and then you get the summary, and then the software just merges these things into your libraries.
So at the starting point, you pack everything up, push into one environment file, and on the receiving end, you import this file, and basically import it, and then it appears. And just a refresher of what appears. So you have the groups, library items, styles.
For example, materials, those are also things that are not going with the project if you didn't use them.
Yes,
styles, just as they appear at the left-hand side on the screen. So imagine you created a complex wall structure and roof and things like that. Those are also something that you can carry over. And well, all these things, I hope I didn't forget anything, but always the guide list which appears when you load and use this environment package command, it will tell you the options what you can move. So actually everything except the project files. The project files are something that you can easily copy over.
Oh yes, that's a different story, and they also hold the content, but if you just want to pass content on to somebody else.
So quickly summarize, I think we can say that there are three things to take care of when you move from one computer to another. Your license, obviously, that's the first thing. Your project files, that's another important thing, and the content that you didn't use in your project files, but you still would like to use them. All these things you can move from one computer to another with a dedicated workflow.
Here's a question on that. Is there any guidance to where all libraries, templates, and the main resources are, so we can easily save and back up?
This is the for the end user. This is the recommended way if you would like to just pack things up. You can use this for archiving things. Just copy them someplace, and then you just use that storage for archiving. If you would like to go a little bit deeper and you would like to have a bigger understanding where ARCHLine store these files, that's not a secret. I can just reveal that by simply using the file explorer. And let me just open this file, this folder up. This is in the. Give me a second. It's here and here and this one and Catline, and let's talk about this. So this is the folder appearing on screen now. As you can see, if you would like to just physically kind of take a snapshot of what's ARCHLine at this very moment on your computer for any sort of safety reasons, then this is what you should make a backup copy of. It's
this is
your local C drive, program data, Catline, and the current version. Just make a copy of that, and then you have a backup copy.
Let's hear some more useful tips in this regard. And here are the things that we think would help you with your work. First question that you might have is that, okay, where do I find all this support information complied? Where can I reach out to ask my questions? Obviously, if you have purchased ARCHLine through a reseller, you can turn to them. But if you are our direct client, then you can find support online. So if you go back to our website and find the relevant pages, which is under education, and you click on support, you see the portrait of this person next to me and another colleague of ours, and they are our dedicated support consultants. And these are the details by which to reach them. But what's more important is if you scroll down, you see the most frequently asked questions or the tools that we can use to help you. Software that we recommend for keeping in touch, or another solution which is integrated in ARCHLine, with which we can access your computer, further help, how to send larger projects, because if you want to send us something that you want us to take a look at and it's a couple of 100 megabytes, you need to know how to get that our way. And other websites which we think are helpful, and obviously this is also where you can book private hours with our support agents to talk about your problems, if they are more like bigger in length or in attention span, then that is covered in your support agreement with us.
And they can also contact you.
Yes, they can contact me as well, but I didn't list my contacts here. I'm busy making the webinars.
Yeah.
So another useful thing is that a couple of frequently asked questions, what happens if your updates or your bug fixes or anything that the software downloads don't come by themselves?
Yeah.
What do we do then?
I think let's clear things first. What is an update? What do we mean by an update? When we talk about an additional version of ARCHLine, new version, that's not what we consider an update. That's a new version. It's actually a different installer. 2018 was a version, 2019 is a version, and those are versions that you can install. Now, when we get feedback from our users and there are fixes, or most time we also have improvements, functional improvements in between main releases as well, those are shipped with updates. Updates are by default turned on in ARCHLine to be automatically gathered. So the software listens to the updates, and then when the software finds an update, it automatically starts downloading that, and then when it's downloaded and you start ARCHLine after the download was finished, you will get an information message appearing like this.
You see on the screen right now.
This message, just as it tells you, it's about whether you would like to do it now, because it could take a few minutes, or you don't have time, then you skip it for a while and then you do it later. So if you go with yes, the software will be updated, and then you can go to the the about dialog, and then you can, at the end when the installation process was finished, you will see a code, the information called build number. This is what you can see in the account as well, so you can compare those two, which is important because sometimes this happens a little bit more often than we would like to, is that the software is blocked by an antivirus or something, so it cannot communicate. It's like I'm just mumbling behind my mouth. I can't tell whether there is an update, and I cannot download that. So in that case, you can manually download the update, and then
from the website.
And then you can just compare whether if you're concerned that you heard that there was an update, or you saw an email that there was an update, but the software didn't update itself. You can just go here and find about. You can see the build number, and then you can go online and you saw the installer and there was the build number. You just compare the two, and if you have an older one, a lower build number, then you just go there and download and install it. Installing an update, or installing a full installer on top of your existing ARCHLine won't change anything with your files. It won't damage any of your currently used materials, objects, project files. It's just an update. It just updates the software itself. It doesn't even know about your files. So don't be afraid of that. Just go with the update and you can use that.
Another scenario, and you mentioned that a couple of minutes ago, is that what are updates? So there are two kinds: the bug fixes and the hot fixes for the version that you currently have. But if you're upgrading from an older version of ARCHLine to a newer one, then what do you do?
Well, in that case, again, you go to the download website, either the download center, or you can just go with the latest trial version, if that is the version that you would like to install. And then download the installer and go through the process just as described before. You just install the software, and if you already have the license key, just provide that, use it, activate it. Or if you don't, because it's just for you to test the trial, now just go with the other two options, either trial or non-profit.
I think one important takeaway from here is that if you're upgrading to a newer version, you are not activating your license from your existing product, but you download the latest build. So for instance, if you have so far used the ARCHLine.XP 2018 and you have a license code for 2019, then you are not updating from the 18 version. Instead, you download a trial of the 19 version and update and activate that.
And for those of you who make changes a little bit slower, don't be afraid. ARCHLine, the new version won't remove the old version.
Yeah,
so
yes,
so you
that's
still have, now let's talk about now, I still have 18 on my computer, but I'm considering using 19, but I'm in the middle of something. So I just started my work and I have to finish it in a few days. I just finished it in 2018, but in the same time, I can already install the new version. And when I finish that job, I just move on to the new version, and I can read and use my files with no extra effort. They will be just easily read by the new version and backwards as well.
That's right.
So don't worry, if you install the new version, 2019, it won't remove any of the past versions, 2018 and 17 or whichever.
And lastly, let's talk about customization,
Yeah.
because that was also part of this show that we wanted to cover. Because what happens if you want to make the software more familiar to the environment that you want to work on? What are the places where you can customize settings, for instance? Well,
those settings, the majority of the settings that you would like to work with in ARCHLine is under this large cogwheel at the left-hand side bottom part of ARCHLine. This is the software settings, the options of ARCHLine, graphics, open and save units, and so on. Everything that you store here will be also something that you can move from an old version, 2018 to 2019, and you can also pack these things up into an environment file, and you can move your settings from one computer to another computer to work in the same environment. Mm-hmm. Should that be the interface of the software, your hotkeys, or any specific setting. Now, let's talk about a few of those settings, which I think is something that I would consider change when I start working on my computer. One is obviously the graphics, how I like to use ARCHLine and how it works. I mostly use the default settings, so I won't change these things here. But as you can see, should you have, for example, let's say I have a compatibility issue with my current graphics card, so I can't use DirectX 11 as I supposed to, then I can go back and use an older version. So this is one thing that I would change if I have any trouble with my current card, for example. Or another thing, open and save, which is something that I change quite frequently from one computer to another computer. This is the project default path. That's the folder where ARCHLine by default offers storing and offers loading your projects from. You can store and load projects from wherever a computer besides this setting as well. So that's only the default. So you don't have to start by finding the folder. This is just a go-to option. So if you have a small drive space, like for example, we have these SSDs, which I really recommend to take for any of you, because they speed things up a lot. But usually they are small. So sometimes I just cannot afford to store everything here. So I just set the project location to another folder on another drive, which is for storing the information, and this is where I can do that. For this, I need to restart the software. I mentioned the language. Don't forget what you wanted to say. The language is something that you can change on the user interface. This is where you can find all supported languages, or all currently supported languages are listed here. So you can just change, and the software will tell you, okay, for this I need to restart. You can restart, just ARCHLine, and then it will start with the new language. And here also you can change the user interface should you like some different color scheme.
I'm mostly interested about units and angles that
yeah.
the software uses. For instance, for measurements or for drawing.
Yeah, for the measurement, now the International English version by default is set to millimeters, but you can go to another setting like centimeters, meters, and English feet and inches. Whichever you go with, again, you can just change that setting, and then you can start working with it. This does not need any sort of restart from the software side, because this is something that sometimes I even change for right when I work with a project. I work with a carpenter, for example. I'm an architect. I usually think in millimeters or meters, but he's working with centimeters. So just to make things easier, I just simply switch the units and I just check the drawings that he gave me.
Important point here, with feet and inches, we support fractionals as well.
Yeah.
And about units, if you have a different rounding of angle measurements, then if you have a different setup, then this is how you can define that. So obviously we try to make the software as adapted to other markets as possible. So if it opens up and you don't see the preferred units right away, you might need to dig into the settings because they are mostly there.
And another thing which comes for me and for many of you who, if you don't work only for one country, if you work for several countries with several other settings, you can change the software to use those settings and those any sort of units and snap settings and things like that.
That's right. And this is time for questions, I think. We had one in the beginning, we just didn't have the time to answer that.
Yeah.
As Check Together, I'm interested in seeing more details about your network license system. So we do have network license enabled, but this varies from country to country. Basically, typically schools are using this, but it is possible to have multiple users sitting on the same product code. And that way, if they are operating on the same network, they are able to access the software without any limitations whatsoever.
Yeah. So should you be a user, want to use ARCHLine on a local area network, contact your reseller. Should you be a reseller, contact us and we will help you.
and we'll help you with that. So basically, that's what we wanted to cover during this webinar of licensing, activation, customization, and everything what comes with them. We hope we managed to give you some useful information. And let's talk about now what happens next time. That's going to be a groundbreaking new webinar that we are doing because we are going to attempt to access the same ARCHLine files and work on them simultaneously, which will be a real challenge to show you how that works. But the bottom line is that ARCHLine is introducing teamwork, which would allow you to simultaneously work on the same projects.
Yeah.
And
at the same time.
At the same time, that's right. So we will show you how that works. That is going to be next Wednesday at the same time. For now, I would like to thank you for your attention and for tuning in, and thank you very much
for the questions. And all visitors are.
Yes, and hope to see you again next Wednesday where we talk about the wonderful world of teamwork. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take care.
See you. Goodbye.